Are you ready to reflect on your year together? It might be the end of the year. It might be the middle of the year. But we get more of what we focus on. And too often people let everything go until it's too late. I mean, just imagine, sometimes we start getting clutter. I'm not sure how I would know about that, but we start getting clutter and it starts being piles, a little pile here, a little pile there. Then suddenly one day we turn around and we're like, good grief, this house is so cluttered. Why? Because we let it go and we let it go. Now, it's not too late because I can always go clean up the clutter, but the more cluttered it is, the harder it is to clean it up, right? So, too often people let everything go in their marriage until it's too late. So, today you're upgrading your relationship by purposely assessing the highs and the lows of this past year. You see, when you don't understand why you and your spouse are fighting, ignoring each other, failing to connect, you're not going to find that middle ground that meets your expectations. It makes you feel loved, secure, and excited about life. I know I need to feel excited about life. It like gives me energy. So that's why I teach Rediscover Your Spouse. You can understand how they think, why they think the way they do, act the way they do, respond the way they do. Now, would you like to discover your spouse and find that passion that you once had? So, what's the importance of looking back? What's the importance of looking back? Well, we can identify our pros for the year and our cons. Looking back creates awareness. And now, once you look back, you can be proactive and you can plan for a better future. And that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to give you seven different questions, seven different areas that you can jot down on paper or sit and talk with your spouse and really contemplate, really think about so that you can look back on your relationship this year and assess, like I said, the pros and the cons. Figure out what worked great and what you would like to tweak just a little bit. You don't have to be having a terrible time in your marriage, but the better you understand one another, the more enjoyable the experience will be. So, time was just passing me by the last few years. Right about the time COVID came, I began to really hunker down in my business. And hey, it all went on computer. Before that, I was out talking and speaking with real groups and real people. And what I found was that once I was at home, just on Zoom or just on YouTube, I miss the faces. I miss the energy. I missed hearing from people. So what I found was I did begin just working all the time. We had some other things going on in our life at the same time that COVID hit, but I just started working all the time and it became my passion to figure out how I could help you. The first thing I knew was that personalities really give people challenges in marriage. A lot of times there's extroverts and introverts, they marry and they're literally opposite. But as I worked and I sunk myself into my work and I found myself working all the time. Why? Because it literally gave me joy. I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed continuing to learn more and do more. But as COVID went by and we all started getting out amongst people again, I found myself still working from the time I got up in the morning into the evening. So sometimes we have to stop and think about that. Are we working too much? Do we have work-life balance? Am I developing the family life, the relationships in my family that I want to? So we have to stop and think about those things. For me, it was all work and no play. So suddenly one day, I was not so content and happy with it anymore. I've been kind of emptied out. I'm always talking about deposits and withdrawals in your relationship. Well, it works with your energy too. Literally, I had just given out so very much that I was in a negative place. It's like I I needed to deposit some new things into my life, and for me, that was fun because I like to enjoy life. I like to have fun. I like to do things with my husband, do things with my family, artsy things, redecorate, or whatever is creative. I love to do it. So I kind of took a note from my daughter. We are always learning from others. I took a note from my daughter. She was always planning her activities and she had very specific activities she was always doing with her kids and her family. And I thought, man, I remember a day whenever I used to be really busy with my kids and my mom would say, "Gee, Connie, don't you ever stay home?" Well, she liked to be at home, but I like to be on the go and I like to be doing. But I like to also be organized so that I'm not going crazy, not getting the wash done or not getting the groceries or not getting dinner cooked and that kind of things. So I took a note from my daughter and not that I was doing it perfect, but I'm attempting to find work-life balance again. And I'm doing some painting. I started doing some quilting at church. I said at one point, as I got older, someday I would do a little quilting and learn how to do that. And hey, I'm learning that now. Guess what? It gives me joy. And so we have to plan our lives or time and stuff just takes over. And I'm not going to talk a lot about that today, but planning is what you're doing today. You're looking back at what's been going on and thinking about what do I want to leave behind? What do I want to improve this year? And what do I want to keep? It worked great. I know there's some great things from this past year. Well, my husband and I had gotten two lazy boy chairs, actually from my father-in-law. He was selling them, and he's about an hour from my house. And we got those lazy boy chairs, and they were the ultimate, the nicest chairs I think we ever had. They were rockers, they were recliners. I mean, they just had it all. They were really pretty. I got a new rug in my den to match those lazy boy chairs. And, it's just very renewing. And they were so, so comfortable. Hey, and I'm 5 foot. And so I'm just more comfortable when my feet are up, right? Either they're folded up in the chair or they need to be up because they don't touch the ground so good. All right, so that's more information than you probably wanted to know, but we got those lazy boy chairs. And so each night we would sit down on our chairs and we would watch TV, watch a little news, talk about the day. And, it was great. But after a few months, I started to realize that, gosh, I kind of missed sitting on the couch beside my husband. And a lot of times we don't pay attention to those love languages. We don't pay attention to all the things we hear that help make our marriage better and better or keep us close together because we're just on the go. Well, as I started to think about it, because I analyze everything, I started to think about that and I realized that one of our top love languages is touch. And that means like we hold hands all the time. I know we're getting to the age now, probably people look at, oh, aren't they cute? Because they're getting older. But it's like all our married life, 46 years, we have always held hands, sat close. And it's probably that love language of touch has always kept us close and affectionate. Isn't that what everybody wants? But everybody doesn't have that love language of touch. There are four others, and I'm not going over those today. But for us in these lazy boys, we would reach across the arm and we would hold hands and we would watch TV. And, it just wasn't doing it. I started feeling a little separated, a little distant, and that kind of thing. And I said to my husband, I said, you know what? I love these chairs so much. They're the nicest we've ever had. But I think we need to look at that love seat, reclining love seat that we had talked about before. We got the chairs. Um, and so we started talking about that. We started looking at love seats and we made the decision to let go of our beloved lazy boy chairs because those were expensive, really nice chairs. And we don't usually pay, for the very best. You might, good for you. We just don't do that because we just don't have to have the very best. Those lazy boy chairs, we sold them actually to some friends who are now enjoying them. But we just got our love seat last week. And you know what? Silly, 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 isn't it? But it makes all the difference. And so when you figure out what your love language is, what keeps you close to your spouse, what the two of you need to continue to feel supported and loved, you can improve your marriage. And, through our busyness, we are all looking for that something because from time to time, you grow a little distance between you and your spouse. And the important thing is to make sure that you pay attention to that, figure it out, and fix it. All right. So, Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." God wants good things for us. And when my energy gets a little down and out, my first thing is I'm self-detrimental, unfortunately. And it doesn't mean I'm mean to my spouse, but I'm not as affectionate to my spouse. And so we got to pay attention. All right, so guess what? No matter what God has for you, we all have choices. We have to figure it out. Every choice that we make leads us down this road or leads us down that road. And for me, sometimes I get distracted. You ever get distracted? Ever pick up your phone to do one thing and then you do another thing and another and another? Lay your phone down and walk out of the room? Yeah, we all get distracted these days because there's so many things to distract us. So the first thing we want to look at today, I want you to grab that paper, like I said, and take a few notes if you can. And if you're listening to this in the car or you're on the treadmill, taking a walk or cooking dinner or something like that, then you might want to go back through it and just jot down these 7 things. These are 7 things that you can look at and assess and see if you can't just tweak your relationship just a little bit this year coming up and make it better. All right, the first one is celebrate your milestones. Celebrate your milestones, like fun things that you've done together, anniversaries, vacations. Maybe you had a personal achievement this year and you and your spouse shared in that and went out to dinner or took a trip or just celebrated paying some bills, even maybe if it was a financial win for you. But celebrating the wonderful things. Maybe you had a new baby. Maybe you just moved to a new place and you bought a house. There's so many things to celebrate. A lot of times we finish the year and we hardly even look back at what went well this year. What went well this year? The second thing is, it says failing to plan is planning to fail. And that's Alan Laken. And I love quotes. I love Bible verses because so many of them are profound and true. And when we fail to plan, we plan to fail. We don't mean it to be that way, but when we fail to plan and look ahead at where we want to go, we plan to fail. In fact, I am planning on doing some special stuff on the next podcast. After this, on the next podcast, I am planning on helping you create some vision for what you want in your marriage. How about that? And we'll talk about that then. All right. So the second thing is identify challenges. Yes, we have counted our blessings, looking at what went wonderful last year, but then we've got to stop and identify the challenges. What didn't go well? What was not enjoyable? What sucked up our time? What sucked up our energy? What sucked up the connection that we have with our spouse? Acknowledge any challenges. It might be financial, kids, car repairs, disagreements, tempers that flare way too often. Sometimes we're too busy to write down ways that you can find more peace in your marriage. Let me fix that. Sometimes we're too busy to really figure it out. Take the time to figure it out. Number 3, highlight joyful moments. Now, it's important to grow together, laugh together, and love forever. And I have to say that's what we've had in our marriage is we have we've grown together through the years. We got married and we started having kids probably in the first 6.5 years. We had 3 children. Our kids are exactly 5 years from the youngest to the oldest. We started doing that. And, we bought a house during that time and we were both working hard. I was teaching ballet. My husband was in insurance. Um, but there were still a lot of joyful things that went on, but we were growing together. We were laughing with each other, laughing with our kids. And here we are 46 years later, loving forever. But still, even after over 40 years, there's ups and downs of life. There's different things going on, things that take your energy, things that keep you happy, things that do not, right? So you're always working on it. Find things that you both like to do together. Make a list. Make a list of the things you like to do together. I actually have that. It is in the extraordinarymarriage.com slash, I think it is free dash gifts. Free dash gifts.com. Yeah. The extraordinarymarriage.com slash free slash, no, free dash gifts. Yeah, you'll find it on my page somewhere or through some of my podcasts, you'll find a link. Um, and inside of that, it's actually inside the chemistry of lasting love, and it has all kinds of things that you can do together. And many times, we're just not very creative and we haven't stopped to think or go over a list and go, well, I do like doing that. I bet there's things that my husband and I like to do that we've not ever talked about. Well, honestly, because we stay busy doing the things we do like to do. We do music and things together. Music, church, kids, family. He does not go shopping with me, may I say. But finding things that you both enjoy doing. Actually, 2 years ago, we picked up camping. So now we go camping together. You can even do chores together. Set a clock and do 30 minutes of chores together. It keeps the wife happy whenever you spend 15, 20, 30 minutes cleaning up together and you just set the clock, do all that you can do within that time together, and then it gets done twice as fast as one person doing it by themselves. That makes her joyful. And when she's joyful, you're joyful, right? Understand your love languages, like I was talking about before. Understand your top needs. That is in the chemistry of lasting love. What makes you laugh? Jokes, movies, adventure. It's up to you to figure it out. What gives you joy? What gives you joy? Number four, communication successes. Okay, we're married. We're with each other all the time. You could even be retired and you're with each other all the time. I always hear jokes about people when they get ready to retire that, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my husband when he's home all the time? Well, you have to be able to communicate what you like and what you don't like in a nice way, of course, and do things together. Communication successes. Are you listening to one another? Now, this started to be a challenge for my husband and I in the last couple of years for whatever reason. He's always been the best listener, and I am the best talker. And so I realize that I talk maybe just a little too much sometimes, so I try to back down off of that. But his listening skills are getting a little rusty after all these years. Maybe he's just tired, maybe. But it's so important to listen to each other, eye contact, acknowledge, maybe say, oh, yeah, maybe repeat something once in a while that they said so they know you're listening and they have your eyes. Um, and then follow through. Communication is also following through with, I said I'm going to be home at 5:30 and you're home at 5:30, or you text or let them know. That's communication. Having interesting conversations. The more things you do together that are fun and you participate together in, then you have some great conversations. Uh, Everybody needs to feel seen, heard, and appreciated. That's husbands and that's wives. They need to feel seen, like you see them, you hear them when they're talking to you. They matter and appreciated. And, sometimes we forget as wives, that husband's there. If we're not working a full-time job, that husband's working a full-time job. He leaves in the morning, he comes home in the evening, and he's tired. And you may be home with the kids all day if you're at that age where you're raising your kids and you're tired. Now you're both tired. How do you communicate? Kind of grumpy, snappy. We have to, the more we follow our love languages, understand what our spouse needs most from us, the better we can communicate in a nice way. I always say, like, you want to communicate with your spouse, wait for it, the same way you communicate with people in public. Are you so nice and so charming in public and possibly a little snappy at home? Think about that. So, number five, evaluate conflict resolution. If you are having trouble with frustration, a little yelling, a little screaming, a little frustration, you know, it's important to learn to meet in the middle. And it does take two people to do that. But sometimes the other person is not willing to meet you in the middle. Maybe you could say, I'm sorry, and they can't say, I'm sorry, or they never have a problem. But that goes along with the personality styles. And that is taught in Rediscovering Your Spouse. Rediscover Your Spouse personality styles. So some people, you know, a temper is the first place that they go. Other people close down whenever there's conflict and they won't even talk about it. What do you do about that? And sometimes um, we just have to uh, learn more about our spouse and learn about those personality styles so we can not take it personal. Because often we react when we're frustrated. We react whenever our spouse is not communicating the way we would like. So, conflict resolution. Have you learned to meet in the middle, or is it the world's motto? We live in a world right now that it is radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And when both spouses at the end of the day are, whoa, what's in it for me today? Dinner, or what's in it for me today? Well, if we could stop and think about our spouse and be a little more focused towards, hey, honey, what can I do for you? This is for the wives and the husbands. Hey, honey, what can I do for you? All right. Number six. This one's easy for me. Practicing gratitude. It kind of goes into that appreciation thing, doesn't it? Practicing gratitude. Practice gratitude, score. Everybody likes a thank you. Everybody likes a compliment on dinner. Everybody likes thank you, honey, for washing my clothes. My husband still says that when I wash his clothes, and he brings home the bread. I mean, he brings home most of the income. And so, I like to do my part. But practice gratitude. Gratitude and appreciation and thank yous and I'm sorries are deposits into your relationship. They are deposits into your relationship. Number seven, commit to continuous growth. And that is what you are doing right here. Often we are trying to figure out how to raise our kids, how to discipline, how to love on them, and do the best job. Often people are working in a job and they are learning new things so they can do a great job. Maybe so they could get a pay raise. Maybe they're going to college at night or online so that they can get a pay raise and so they can grow at work to be their best. When we're growing, it's kind of like the green grass. When we're growing, we're full of energy. We're full of love. We're full of light. But what happens when we stop growing and things become status quo? Imagine the grass dying and turning all brown. Imagine a relationship where the grass is all brown. Yeah, it might look like the grass on the other side of the fence is greener because it is, right? It's important for us to keep the grass green where are at too. So you want to commit to continuously growing in our relationship. Marriage is a journey. It is not a destination. And often it becomes a destination, like all the plans for our wedding are a big, big deal. It's a destination, marriage. But it's actually, once you get married, it's a beginning. It's a journey. It'll have all different kinds of things from job changes, buying houses, moving into a different apartment, raising kids, the birth of children, moving from one place to the next, paying bills, fixing a car, doing things you didn't want to spend your money on. You see what I'm saying? So commit to continuous growth. Learn to thrive by being attentive. Learn to thrive in your relationship by being attentive. Be aware of the needs of yourself, because you know you gotta put on your oxygen mask first. Be aware of your needs and your spouse's needs. Grab the chemistry of lasting love from my webpage, The Extraordinary Marriage. Pay attention to how you express stress. Do you express stress by shutting down, by exploding, by getting quiet? How do you express stress? How do you make decisions? How do you make decisions? Learning how you make decisions and your spouse make decisions differently could really cut down on a lot of conflict. Some people need a lot of time to analyze and figure it out or think about it. Often, I say to my husband, um, well, let me think about that. And sometimes I have to think about it a while before I'm ready to make a decision. And other people can make a decision so quick. If you're very quick, and I do that sometimes too, but if you're very quick, it can be frustrating for you if it takes your spouse a long time to decide. There again, rediscovering your spouse helps you understand one another when both of you take that class. You start to understand one another and maybe allow each other a little space because you realize this is how you're wired. Continuous growth, understanding what you value most for the two of you, each one of you. Know your love languages, understand your differences. Rediscover Your Spouse is a workshop that I have online and in person. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working as for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." Colossians 3, 23 and 24. But honestly, when you follow these things, the reward is yours in your daily life. How you speak to your spouse, how you live your life, the energy that you have. And all I can say for you is I hope you wrote down your 7 things. You sit down with your spouse and y'all have a conversation. Hey, we all need something to talk about, right? I'm Connie Durham with The Extraordinary Marriage, and today happens to be Christmas. And so I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and you have a Happy New Year. But this lesson today is good for everyone every day. Thanks for listening.